Theo, thank you for joining us. We're here to talk about your whole process with Shrewsbury Town, from joining at under-15s through to what you currently do now, which we'll get on to. So firstly, you're under-15s and you've joined Shrewsbury Town Academy. Where had you been before that, and what was going through your mind when that happened?
So I was playing for two teams at the time. Played for a grassroots team, Brickfield Rangers, and I was also playing for Bala Town, but their academy. So at those times, sort of thing, you were allowed to play Saturday and Sunday. So Bala are in the Welsh Prem, so it was sort of semi-pro. That's sort of in my time, like in my eyes, that was an academy. But so that had happened, and then we had played. It was like a trial game for like the Shrewsbury team. So there was two trial Shrewsbury teams, and Bala got sort of invited, and sort of from there, that's how I got scouted. So when they offered, sort of bring us in for a trial, sort of like, because that, it wasn't far from me. I'm from Wrexham, so it's not, it's like half an hour down the road for me. So that was sort of my sort of goal, to be like, well, that's a local academy, and I sort of want to get there. And there was a few lads sort of near my area that had played or been on trial here, and I was always thinking like, no, I want to be one of those people. So so that had happened, and then when I signed at 15, sort of early December, sort of January time, I think it was, and sort of went there, and I remember sort of me and my dad went there and was like, right, how long is the trial? And then it was sort of like David Longo at the time, who was the academy director, sort of said, you're not on trial. And it was like, what? That was surreal for me in some sense. So I was like, and I hadn't really ever been on trial anywhere else. So that was like a really sort of proud and good moment sort of thing. And and then I just literally signed for him. So it was a good moment.
And then progressed quite quickly straight into a scholarship. Talk about that emotion, getting a scholarship and then cracking down then for the next 2 years.
Yeah, no, that was such a good, it was a good memory still now to look at, to sort of get that scholarship. And, I never would have thought when I was playing grassroots I was going to get a scholarship for a professional team. So it was always just about enjoying my football. And then that, sort of got that, I got offered it verbally at a young age, sort of like 3 weeks after I signed at 15. So it was always quite, hush-hush about it. I'm not one to sort of go around and gloat, and, there's lads that were older than me getting scholarships. So it wasn't, but, it was verbally. And I think from there it was sort of like, in my mind, I've been offered it, but I haven't been offered it. So I always put a lot of pressure on myself to sort of each game, each training session. I was training with the 18s when I was 15, turning 16. I spent the whole pre-season with the 16s at the time. So, that was still, again, a surreal moment, I think, because, again, a lad that's gone from grassroots to now who's, literally a year after, now I'm at Shrewsbury, I'm training with the 18-year-olds, which at the time for me was surreal. So I was a bit like, okay, you're playing up now. So yeah, that was surreal. And then, even throughout that whole 16-year-old stage of, I've signed it, verbally got offered it, I've trained with the 18s at pre-season, and then, now I was getting taken out of school on a Thursday to train with them. So again, and you've got GCSEs at this time, so even then it was like, wow, like, this is going to be hard work, and this is just still surreal. Like every training session, like, you get to go and put the kit on, and you're excited for training. So yeah, that was, again, still a surreal moment, probably one of the proudest moments.
Talking about the football side of it, you also mentioned GCSEs, the standard education as well that everyone would have gone through. But alongside that, you're also doing coaching badges as well. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so through our scholarship, the club are really good at sort of, making it mandatory to sort of do your coaching licence. I think it's the level 2 or UEFA C. So, everyone who was in the scholarship, I think they were like, it's important because, and again, I'm doing it now, so it must have been quite important. So, but at the time, they make you do the UEFA C, they get, Ian Sanks came in. He did our coaching sort of degree with us. So, you learn a lot at that sort of level, and, he sort of helps you how to plan sessions and what coaches look at. And yeah, we did it in that sort of sense, and they were really good with us. At times you could have, you had your education, which was the BTEC, but you also had the UEFA C to do. So you were more focused on finishing your BTEC, but then they were also like, okay, right, you've done your BTEC, but you still need to do this, this PowerPoint for UEFA C, and it's good in a way because, like I said, I mean, look at me now, I'm in coaching, and it's sort of, but at the time you were just looking at it, I was like, oh, it's like, why, I just want to play football, but they were always supporting in, without sort of telling you, you've got a UEFA C license now to your name, so, you always had that just in case, if worst comes to worst, you go out of football, you always had that as a background to sort of come to. So, yeah, but I enjoyed it. Some lads, were a bit, can't be bothered, but no, I really enjoyed it.
I suppose it gave you that other option, and as things went, you're using it now.
Yeah.
That moment where you got released from, at the end of your scholarship, talk us through that. Talk us through what was going through your mind.
It was just tough. I think just that all of it was quite tough. I mean, you spend 2 years with sort of a group of players that become sort of a family. You're with them every day. You make good friendships, good bonds. But then also, you're all sort of fighting to go for this dream that every lad, girl has. So, I think to then go to the scholarship at the end of it and not get a contract was tough. I think, it's even tough being in the meetings, and I think a lot of scholars will tell you anywhere that, because you're a scholar somewhere, you think you can go somewhere else, and it's not that easy. So, you're asking for trials at clubs, you're talking to other teams, or you're trying to find what's next, or, some people might go to uni, some people are still trying to play football. So at the time I was, just trying to find teams and trying to find out what was next for me. And I ended up sort of going into a camp, and it was called Behind the White Lines. And that's done by Stephen Colker, ex-professional, played hundreds of games in the Premier League, and that sort of opened my eyes as well to going to a point where you're in a low state because, again, you've been released, it's tough. But that opened my eyes hugely. We were training like we were professional for a week, having, talks from different companies and opening your eyes and sort of made you feel better about yourself. You've had football, but it's not all like doom and gloom. So, yeah, and then sort of I come back from that and sort of got offered to come coaching at Shrewsbury.
Yeah. So you mentioned Ian Sanks there earlier, from the PFA. Talk to me about how he kind of fit in to getting you from where you were with Stephen Colker to where you are now.
Yeah, so literally from that, it was, Charlie and Liam Eaton at the time, who was head of coaching, they were doing really well, sort of looking out of how am I getting on, and Liam had mentioned, if I was playing semi-pro at the time, and I was sort of talking about going into the Welsh Premier League, and a few clubs, sort of looking at me, and I was, I said that to Liam, and he said, well, it's not a bad idea, maybe we can get you coming in and coach, and because, you know the standards, you've been a scholar, you've been through it all, I think it'd be really good for you as you're playing, you're learning the game as well, still as a coach. So, and that sort of, again, brightened my eyes to something different, because I was like, well, yeah, actually, I quite like the fact of sort of helping them, helping players, and I was developing sort of a coaching mind as well as a player's mind, and even now still playing, I see it. So yeah, but no, it was really good, and I think as soon as I came in with coaching, Charlie, Liam had told Charlie, and Charlie was like, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. So it was really good, and I sort of started quite quickly. I started, and they were really good. It wasn't as if, in some sense, it's not as if you've just been thrown away. It was sort of like, here's a second opportunity. We don't want you to just, go. We think you've got the ability to be a good coach, and the philosophy, the standards. So I think it'd be really beneficial.
So now you're full-time across the academy and foundation, working with the under-10s, but also with what the foundation offers as well. Talk to us a little bit about what you currently do, essentially.
So yeah, like you said, I'm sort of full-time across it, in some sense. I'm part-time with the foundation and sort of part-time with the academy, so it feels like full-time. But no, I'm enjoying every bit of it, because at the minute I sort of do the under-10s, and they're a joy to work with. I mean, in the fact of, they're good lads, good group. I think I'm learning a lot as well with the coach who I coach with, who's Danny Blackham. So, I'm learning a lot as well, because the season before that, when I had started and, I was sort of getting used to actually being a coach, was, I was learning a lot from the coach who I was coaching with. I was doing the under-13s with Dale Lloyd, and I learned a lot from him. I think he's a very good coach, and he sort of helped me sort of develop the skills I have now. And I used to ask questions on how how should I do this, how should I do that. So yeah, I was ended up sort of starting now to coach more with the under-10s, and we've been on quite a good run with them. I think we won the Wolves Cup, beat Liverpool, so that was sort of, and you get quite emotionally attached to it. You want the lads to win. I think it went to a penalty shootout, and you're thinking, oh, come on, you feel like it's your own Champions League finals. But I'm really enjoying it. I think the academy a lot, they're all really very good with me. From Dan Rees, Charlie, Dave Riley, even Natalie, really, with the player care, I tend to talk to her quite a lot about it, because I think now, as a coach and when I was a player, you always need that sort of support. Sort of got into the foundation in January. So, that's been sort of brand new to me. And that's, thanks to Ian Sanks, because, again, and that is thanks to the PFA, because, I'd left, I'd done my C licence, yeah, but, and the way Shrewsbury have been with me, Charlie's been with me, Dan, Dave, all the coaches, sort of, saying to me, go do your B licence. I think, because one, it's a qualification that is really good. It gives you a lot of more options than UEFA C or level 2. But doing that B licence, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from other coaches / players, and yeah, and I did you do support sessions. I did my 3 support sessions. Two of them were in West Brom. One was at Shrewsbury on the Astro. So I did that, and he sort of recommended, sort of myself, which he didn't have to do, but he, he recommended me, as I think the foundation at the time were looking for coaches, and he recommended me to the foundation, and then sort of from there, I think Chris Lloyd, Shin, even was sort of like, thanks, you can't be wrong. So sort of, yeah, we got that done pretty quickly. I was really eager to join, because it gives, I've got a good relationship with all the players, all the BTEC lot. I still know a lot of the scholars that are there now, and I see them training sometimes before we take the BTEC lot out to go train. So, I still speak to them, but I'm enjoying every minute, just because I'm able to give my sort of information, my knowledge to lads that might not be scholars doing a BTEC course, which is fantastic, because you're playing football as well as, but and I think they have a good relationship with me in a sense of they're able to come over to me and ask me questions, and they like to know how I'm getting on in my football, and we have a laugh sometimes, play a game with a few 2-touch, and I'm very competitive, so I don't like to lose, but they're a great bunch, and I'm enjoying, and I'm learning as I'm doing it.
So now you've been through that almost full circle to an extent, from joining the club at under-15s, through the scholarship programme, out of the side, going away, doing a bit of coaching, looking at some other football, and then coming back into it in a coaching position. First of all, how do you kind of how do you evaluate it in in a short answer? But also, do you recommend the processes you went through, the pathway that's there as well for potentially scholars leaving or other local coaches?
100%. I think it's scary, but if you know that, I mean, a prime example. I was a player that loved to play football, and I was trying to work hard for a scholarship. That's all I had in my mind, and then go for the pro contract. So, I had that in my mind, but then got let go. And I think it shows that the PFA and Shrewsbury Town, they, both helped me in a sense. Natalie, constantly, Charlie, Liam, Dan, Dave, all of them, who I had as a player, who were my coaches, to now be working with them and learning off them in a different sense. And I think for any player, young talent, whatever it's just, don't think it's the end of the world. And I think it's very easy to, but, you have the support out there, and again, prime example, I didn't know what I was going to do. But I had the support there to sort of kind of go, well, look, we think you've got it. And I think that just comes down to anything, how you hold yourself. You might not be an amazing footballer, but you might work really hard. You might have a really good attitude. And I think, I'd like to say I was a good footballer, but, I had the work ethic that, I get from sort of my mum and dad and my family, and I used that on the football pitch, and I had the standards that, Shrewsbury sort of drilled into me of, having the respect, tidying up after yourself, and those things just take you a long way. So I think if you have all those, as being a good person, as well as trying your hardest to go for a scholarship, I think, you're not going to go far wrong.
Brilliant. Thank you for your time, Theo.
Thank you.